Welcome to a new episode of Eagle Rewind. I'm Josh McAnerney.
I'm Parker Stone, and today we have a very special guest, actually a member of the Green Valley Hall of Fame from the Examiner, Bill Althaus.
Welcome, Bill. We're very excited to have you.
Thanks, man. I was very excited to get the invitation.
So we're going to start right now with the high school players of the week, both boys and girls. This week started the district tournament. So what do you think who was the most standout players?
I tell you what, there were a lot. Last night at Blue Springs High School, Cole Keller's career came to an end as a basketball player at Green Valley, and this guy is a man. I've never seen a kid give more effort than Cole gave this year. He had some help last night with 12 three-pointers, which was tremendous. Mm-hmm. But, teams are double and tripling him all season long. He's averaging 18 points a game. And last night he went against Ike Zilgu, who is probably going to play in the NFL someday. Yeah. I mean, this guy is a stud, although he's found out he loves basketball. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got offers from Ohio State, Michigan State. Now he's starting to get offers from all the Big 12 schools in basketball. You've got Eli Wingert, 6'8",
crazy,
and you've got Braden Applehands, who is 6'6". All three of them are converging on Cole the whole night.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. He finished with 14 points. Blue Springs won the game. Blue Springs is head and shoulders the best team I've seen this year. And I think the only way they don't go to state is if they beat themselves. If something happens, if there's some implosion within the team. Adam Jones, tremendous coach, tremendous team. They've got a little point guard named Kyle Bruce, and I was talking to him last night. I said, do you feel like you've got the key to the Mercedes? He goes, no. Our offense is a Lamborghini. So he knows how fortunate he is to be running that offense. And then their other guard's Mike Harrison, who had 17 points last night. He's kind of the unheralded guy on the team. So the best team I've seen is Blue Springs boys. The most surprising team I've seen, and this is unbelievable, Truman High School.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree.
Graduated 9 seniors off last year's team, including our player of the year, Lennox, who is playing now at UMKC as a true freshman.
Yeah.
Naji Williams, most dynamic player. I was talking to Cole about him, and Cole says, I was trying to get in his head a little bit. He said, I'm telling him, all this talk, you're the dunk king, and you're doing this and that, and I only do this stuff on the weekends, And Green Valley beat Truman.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? That was the biggest upset of the year. Most craziest, biggest upset. I can't even remember one in recent memory that's bigger than that.
And Truman beat Green Valley before that, right?
By 17.
By 17.
Yeah.
I was at that game. I remember that.
Yes. So, but what Truman has, much like Blue Springs High School, Naji Williams, just the most unbelievable athlete. He is one win away in a national contest, National American Family Slam Dunk Contest.
Wow.
From going to the NCAA Final Four and doing dunks at halftime.
Wow.
In Indianapolis. It's crazy. And he's winning by huge margins. They have his highlight reel on there, and it's like, this is Dr. J in his prime. I call him Jay. And he's like, why do you call me Jay? And I said, okay, let me give you a little history lesson here about Dr. J. He's great. Max Black, big, bulky kid who can hit from the outside. Tremendous player. Quincy Scott is their defensive specialist. Rooney Hernandez. This is something interesting. I just found this out last week. Rooney Hernandez, another great three-point shooter for Truman. His dad's Elvis Hernandez, who played for the Royals back in 2004.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that. No. And, now that I know it, he looks exactly like his dad, a little bit taller. Rod Briggs is a great coach. He just finds a way to motivate his guys and does a tremendous job. I don't think Truman can get past Blue Springs. I just feel like Blue Springs, boy, those big bodies that are big basketball bodies. They're not just athletes; they're big basketball bodies. I love that Truman team. The best team in the area, as far as I'm concerned, boys or girls, William Chrisman.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jackie David, but 2 years ago, she placed in the shot put and discus at state. Last year, she tore her ACL. Didn't get to compete in track and field. Nobody did because of COVID, but her heart was broken because, so oftentimes you get your scholarships when you're a junior. So she came back with a vengeance. She just dominates. Last time I saw her play, she was 9 of 11 from the floor.
Wow.
And for good measure, she hit a 3. And I went out and I said, are you just showing off out here? Come on, Jackie, what's going on with that 3-point shot? They've won 13 in a row.
Jeez.
Yeah. I think they're easily going to win their district.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens after that. If it wasn't for a young lady named Grace Slaughter, I would vote for Jackie for Player of the Year.
Yeah.
How cool is it to have two players that live about 8 miles from each other that are considered the best sophomores in the United States?
It's pretty amazing.
Oh, Jada Williams, man. This young lady, she needs a PR man. I mean, every game I attend at Blue Springs High School, there's a crew shooting her. They do these videos of her.
Overtime's there a lot.
Yes, yeah. It's nuts. And she's the total package. And she is perfect for that Blue Springs High School team because last year she didn't have a lot of help, as was the case with Grace. Good kids on the team, but not a lot of great basketball talent. Grace and Jada were the Examiner's co-players of the year as freshmen. We have never had a freshman player of the year, ever. And look at what you got. Look what they did this year. The last I saw last week, Grace was leading big class basketball in scoring in the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
But she's having like 29 points.
29, just over 29 points a game. In a loss to Raytown, and I think this is interesting, so oftentimes when kids set a scoring record, it's in like an 80-20 game, and they just let them go crazy. In a game they lost to Raytown, she set the school scoring record with 45 points.
Yep.
Yeah. And, I was there when Claire Rose got her 43 points in a postseason game.
Yeah.
And Claire's one of my favorite players ever. I know she's not 5 foot. She never let me measure. Listed 5'3" in the scorebook. But I can't wait to see what Grace does.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
Let me ask you guys, what is Grace like here in school? Because to me, she's just the sweetest.
She's the nicest person ever.
You would never think she's a big basketball stud. Super nice. Would never think so.
Yeah. And I don't know Jada as well, but I see Jada at boys basketball games. I saw her at every Blue Springs football game I attended. Just there with some friends being a kid, and it's like, man, how can you be a kid when you get that much attention? Yeah. Now, this is an interesting fact, and it shows how old I am. I covered Grace's mom when she went to 2 Final Fours with Truman High School, and she was the starting point guard.
Wow.
Now, she gets her basketball talent from mom, and I guess her height from dad.
Yeah.
But, oh my, she's special, She's one of those players, when a game starts, you just can't take your eyes off of her. Mm-hmm. And Jada's the same way. Jada the other night wasn't the leading scorer when they played Blue Springs. She got the ball to her backcourt teammate, Jacole Johnson.
Yeah, she went off.
And it was interesting because after the game, Jada came up to me and said, "We unleashed the beast." And the beast is this little 5 foot nothing point guard that she just did in Green Valley. They didn't have an answer for her. And much like Cole, Grace faces every gimmick defense there is.
Yes.
There have been games this year where I've seen Cole and Grace play, and there's a box and one with the box against them and the one with the other four players out there. So it's so interesting to see the dynamics of every team. I remember when Kendall Bailey and Claire Rose graduated from Green Valley, and I asked Randy Draper, the coach, I said, why don't you go out with the girls? It can never get better than this. He goes,
just wait.
We've got an 8th grader. You've got to see. That 8th grader was Grace. And, wow, what she's done here is just so tremendous.
And she's only a sophomore. She's got 2 years to go.
I know it.
Already got 1,000 points over that now.
Exactly. Is that nuts? 1,000 points as a sophomore. And I think she finished this year with around 1,200 points. So she's on track. And, they lost 6 games this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
So there's another probably 1,200 or 120 points.
Yeah.
So she's something. She's going to break every record there is here at the school.
Yes.
And that she is never going to quit working hard.
Oh, no.
First thing she told me after they lost to Blue Springs, I'm already making a list in my head of things I need to do to improve on. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to hit the weight room. I'm going to shoot 1,000 shots, and I'm taking everybody with me. Well, if you're a freshman and Grace says, come on, we're going to the gym, you're going to be going to the gym, So, So that's what I love.
Yeah.
This Green Valley football team this year, oh my gosh, jumping up another class, second year in a row. I was talking to Cole, and he goes, how many teams have I played in the last 2 years? They're all so different. And what a great run it was this year. What's going on out here at Green Valley as we sit in this unbelievable media center, in this library? If folks just see the school from the outside, you ought to see it from the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even more impressive.
Yes.
And everything that they offer here, tremendous. I've had 2 coaches call me asking me if there are any football openings at Green Valley because they heard Pete Carpino was retiring, and people want to come out of here and be a part of this.
Yep. Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. But I was going to say, Grace, I remember there's times, when I come up here and work out, just, random times of the day, every single time I saw her up in the gym shooting, I was like, does she ever leave? This is, literally, she lives here.
I was talking to your dad the other night, Parker's dad, Eric Stone's an assistant coach on the football team, and he says, I was up here one morning at 7. I hear a ball bouncing in the gym. It's Grace. Came up here Sunday evening, had to do some things. Hear a ball bouncing in the gym. It's Grace. Her mom is a secretary at the North Middle School, so I hear she's in there all the time. I mean, and the thing I can't believe about her is her demeanor during a game. She had a couple of turnovers against Blue Springs and just flips the ball to the official, goes on. Cool, calm, collected. And, Parker, and I what you said, here walking through the halls. I've seen her walking through the halls, and it's just a little taller than everybody, but just one of the guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yes, for sure. All right, what are some great matchups that you see coming up for the basketball tournament?
Well, I tell you what, there's a great one Friday night at Blue Springs High School. Cody Buford, who was a 4-year starter at Raytown South in basketball. He was Kelly Donahoe's quarterback when Kelly was the football coach at Raytown South 22 years ago. His Raytown team it may be the most physically talented team I've seen this year. And they're going over to Blue Springs.
Oh, geez.
And man, it's just going to be athlete against athlete.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great one. The Chrisman girls are playing for the championship. They just manhandled North Kansas City. I just don't see anybody touching them. Truman boys are playing for a championship Friday night. They got off to a slow start last night, but picked things up and wound up getting an easy victory. the Grain Valley boys and girls have nothing to hang their heads over
Yeah.
with not being a part of this run, because there are so many great teams this year.
Definitely.
The girls were playing their best basketball at the end of the season. The boys were definitely playing. How about starting out 1-8 and finishing 10-14?
Yeah.
That was awesome. What Andy Herbert did with that team. And,
With all the inexperience and all the sophomores they had playing.
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yes.
Cole told me early in the season, he says, people ask me if I'm babysitting out here or if I'm playing, and he goes, I don't need to babysit these guys. When they were 1-8, I had the game where they were 1-8. And he goes, we are going to get so much better. And then they play Raytown to the end. They beat Truman. They had a nice little winning streak going until they ran into that buzzsaw over at Blue Springs High School.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Owen, coach's son, after the game, and I said, you're going to be the leader on this team next year. And gosh, I remember when he was keeping the book, like his little brother's keeping the book now. And he's something. He's going to be good. If he could grow a few inches, it would help. But, I like what they're going to bring back next year. And then I guess another 8th grade undefeated season for the girls. So Randy's got some great players coming up.
For sure.
And Ella Kleiman is going to have another year under her belt. I like McKenna Sears. She's just spunky, I mean, she works as hard on the bench as players work out on the court. She's over there cheering them on and going crazy, and they're going to be fun to watch next year.
For sure. How about the Royals? What are your predictions for the Royals this year?
I tell you what, you go up and down that lineup, and there aren't many better lineups in the league.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about the most underrated guy in baseball? It's not even close. It's Whit Merrifield.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, he's the only guy in baseball that has 200 hits. And I remember when I think he signed a 3-year deal, and I saw the total of like $9 million, and I thought, good for you, Whit. You deserve $9 million a year. It was 3 years for $9 million.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the most undervalued guy in baseball, and I still don't know why he didn't make it up here until he was 27. That is a mystery to me. He would come up, he'd do something good, and they'd send him back down. But he's here to stay.
Yeah.
And, Soler, how many years did Steve Balboni hold the home run record? 34. Mike Moustakas broke it, and then 2 years later, Soler broke it. And he hits bombs. He hits home runs kind of reminiscent of the Reggie Jackson homers, the big arching home runs where you have so much time to appreciate it going out of the stadium.
Well, did you see that Sully Matias home run the other day?
What was that? And I heard everywhere between 480 and 520 feet.
I was listening to it on the radio, and I heard the crack of the bat, and it sounded like he hit it like he was standing in the press box right next to the microphone.
Yeah. I love you talking about the crack of the bat.
Yeah.
When my boys were young, they played baseball, and there used to be a little batting cage over here on 40 Highway, and we'd go up there, and we'd open the door, and you'd hear this crack of the bat, and my son Zach, who both my sons went here, said, Albert's here. And Albert Pujols would go up there. He didn't have enough money to buy an hour batting cage or anything.
Yeah.
So my youngest son Sean would put quarters in the cage for Albert.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And he looked like he was 40 when he was 16. That crack of the bat, and that Bo Jackson had the crack of the bat.
There's no better sound in the world.
Nothing, is there? No. Nothing. I know it's cost prohibitive to have wood in high school, but the ding of the bat just doesn't make it. It's got to be that crack of the bat.
Yes, for sure.
I remember. So I think it was in 15U baseball. We were playing down at State Fair. And my coach, he played against Albert Pujols in high school, in college there.
Oh, okay. At Maplewoods?
Yep. And he hit, there's like a big barn out way past center field at State Fair. And it's got to be around 500 feet out there. My coach said Albert Pujols hit a ball, and the sound echoed, and it hit the back of that barn, like on the top of the roof.
Well, have you been to Hidden Valley?
Yes.
Okay,
I think so.
it's where all the American Legion games are played.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
There's a scoreboard that's 410 feet away. There's a road behind it, and then behind that is a utility shed for all their victories. With a wood bat, Albert hit it into the utility shed.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
and his coach at the time, this was American Legion, he said the farthest ball he ever saw Albert hit was at a tournament in Springfield. And it went onto another field, and the other field had to be 200 feet behind that field.
Wow.
And, it's legendary stuff.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah. And, here he is, 41 years old. This may be his last year.
Yep.
And how did that guy not get picked till the 7th round?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember talking to the Royals, and they said, well, he's kind of heavy. Heard he was, kind of not an easy guy to coach. And they thought he was 25 in high school because he looked like that.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to his coach, Dave Fry, and I said, hey, have you ever seen Albert's birth certificate? He goes, never seen it, don't want to see it.
That's funny.
But he was special. But, with the Royals, I think the Royals could do something this year.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've heard that they're going to let 7,000 people into games. I was talking to Lamar Hunt Jr., one of the chairman of the Royals. His father, Lamar Hunt, was the founding father of not only the American Football League, but the Chiefs. And he said that they're hoping they may be able to go from 15 to 30,000 this year
Wow.
at Arrowhead, which would be huge.
That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
How crazy is it? How sad is it that you're an NFL championship team for the first time in 50 years and you have that great parade
Yeah.
and then nothing else? You can't do anything where the players are there to go meet them or
Yeah.
get an autograph or a photo. And
Yep.
then the following year, 15,000 people in Arrowhead looks like
Yeah.
nothing. It's like,
Yeah.
But they made some noise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And both Grace and Cole told me that in this playoff run that there was some atmosphere at the games,
yeah.
and there really was.
Oh, yeah.
The players, they feed off that.
Yeah.
I was at a game at Blue Springs earlier this year, and Blue Springs has both their bleachers pulled in. You can't sit in the bleachers. They have the bleachers up above.
Yep.
So there's like 20 feet on each side of the court. And I'm like, I'm watching a practice. This can't be a game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the kids felt, too.
Yeah.
So we need a little bit of excitement. Let's hope that you don't have to use the PA system to get
Yeah,
some
that's
crowd
really-
excitement this year.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think about some of the younger pitching prospects for the Royals? Like how many between, we all know that Brady Singer and Chris Bubich have already made it to
Yes.
the big leagues, but out of Daniel Lynch, Jackson Kowar, and now Asa Lacy, and even the second tier guys like Jonathan Bolin and Austin Cox, how many of those guys do you think could we possibly see in Kansas City?
Yeah, I think you'll see 4. I mean, I really do. And this is Singer's year. I see this year as when Brett Saberhagen and Mark Gubazah joined the team in 1984. They made it to the championship series and lost to that great Detroit team that won like 118 games and swept the Royals and then swept San Diego in the World Series. I think this year, Singer is going to be a stud.
Yeah.
I like Bubich. I think that kid
I
can
think Bubich
pitch.
is really good.
I listened to a game the other day, and Ryan Lefevre was lavishing praise on him.
Yeah.
I like it that the boys are back in town in the bullpen with Greg Holland and Wade Davis.
Yeah.
I have never in my life had just my hair standing on end, chills, not being able to hardly control myself when Wade Davis had that 9th inning against Toronto after the long delay and the runners on second and third, and he
The rain
pitches
delay.
out.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And the Royals have a bullpen underneath behind the dugout, and so he could have worked out during that. And
That's what he did.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing is they let us go down on the field. I interviewed him on the mound, holding his daughter with his wife standing next to him after that. And I'd happened to go down on the field, and I've known George Brett a long time because I covered George. He and I are the same age, and I started covering the team when he started playing. And he goes, Billy, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. That is the greatest performance I've ever seen in the history of this team.
Cyborg.
And he was he's the Terminator. He would come out of that bullpen to his music, and it was over.
Yeah.
You know? And to have Holland accept the setup role, and Herrera could have been a closer on it. You know, all three of them made the All-Star team. No, I think this is going to be a fun season. I really do. I don't know what the situation is going to be. Last year it was all interviews over Zoom, and that's how it is this year. I cover the Kansas City Mavericks hockey team, and it's all over Zoom. The Kansas City Comets soccer team, they will allow you to talk to people, but it's down on the field 6 feet apart. So someday we're not going to be wearing masks. Someday we're going to get back to some kind of normalcy, and that's going to be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about the battle between the backup first base between O'Hearn and McBroom? It's been going on for a couple of years. Personally, I'm a McBroom fan. I like McBroom more. But I feel like the Royals are more supportive of O'Hearn because he's the homegrown kid. And Matheny has already said he likes O'Hearn. What do you think about that battle?
I like O'Hearn. It's so tough when you've got to come in and replace a guy that owned this city.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit before we went on the air, and I just don't know why a team that was so tight-knit and so close and loved each other and just had to implode because of money.
Yeah.
And Eric Hosmer, I think if Eric Hosmer would have stayed here, he'd have been a Hall of Famer.
Oh, for sure.
He was so comfortable here. He had so much support in the community and in the lineup.
Yeah.
O'Hearn comes in and that's a tough situation. Maybe he's a little bit better defensively at first. They've got more money in him.
But on the flip side, McBroom is more versatile. He can play the outfield a little bit more.
Yes. Well, and look at Merrifield when he first came up.
Yeah.
I think he played every position but catcher and pitcher.
Yeah.
And loved it. I would look in his locker and I said, how many gloves do you have? And he had like 4 gloves.
Yeah.
And he even played first base in a game late. So, the versatility is going to help him certainly stay with the team and be a part of the team. And, I still haven't been able, I haven't met Mike Matheny.
Yeah.
Talked to him over Zoom calls and things. There was a vast amount of fans in St. Louis that loved him. There was an equally amount of fans that didn't like him.
Yeah.
The players seem to love him. I've talked to Salvador Perez a couple of times. He loves him. I think that, we talk about surprise teams in the area. I think the Royals could be a surprise team this year. I don't think anybody expects them to do that much this year. And if all this great young talent can come together, I think we could look at something that, long before you guys were born, back in the early 70s when George Brett, Frank White, Amos Otis, Willie Wilson, all these guys came together at the same time, and you had Dennis Leonard and Paul Splittorff and Dan Quisenberry. And, man, from 1976 to 1985, the Royals were the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll make a real challenge, but, look at what the Twins have done, worst to first. I think it could be exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
So now we're going to kind of switch up things over to the other side of the stadiums. We're going to go to the Chiefs. So what do you think about this, what I think was an MVP season for Mahomes, but, Aaron Rodgers won. What do you think Mahomes showed this year?
What he showed me was that he maybe even worked harder going into this year than he did last year because he didn't want anybody to say, hey, one and done, a fluke. The guy got fat and sassy. All he wanted to do was make commercials with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Nobody could say that. You guys hear a lot more from people your age and Mahomes' age But do you know anybody that's ever said a bad thing about the guy?
No.
Never.
Never. It's when his baby was born, Union Station has the lights for celebrations.
I saw that.
They had
Yeah.
pink lights down at
Yeah.
Union
Yeah,
Station.
that was cool.
Come on, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. He's out following the surgery with the turf toe. He's going to be working harder than ever to come back from that. I have a friend who goes to a gym that Mahomes frequents, and he said the guy's a beast. He said he is in there doing things that you just can't believe.
Yeah.
And on TV, when you're around Mitch Schwartz or you're around Chris Jones, these behemoth guys,
Yeah.
he just looks like a kind of a normal guy. And if you see him in street clothes, I mean, he's buff, he's built, and there's a reason that he can beat you with his legs, he can beat you with his arm, but the way the guy beats you is with his brain.
Yes.
He said many times last year that he's just now getting to the point where he can read a defense and feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And as a
Well,
Chiefs fan-
NFL, good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, as a Chiefs fan, that blew my mind, and I got me super excited. But as a Parker's a Broncos fan, so
I'm leaving. I'll see you.
for him and the rest of the league, that should just be terrifying.
Oh, I know.
But-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he just does it all with such a humble, sweet nature.
Yeah.
Early in Kelsey's career, he said some things that you're like, oh, come on, man.
Throwing the flag back at the official.
Yes. I'm standing there right next to him in the locker, and why didn't Andy want to throw me the ball? And it's like, oh my gosh, come on. And, he has really grown and matured, but it's taken him a few years.
Yeah.
Here's this kid, his dad was a major league pitcher. We've seen all the pictures of, Derek Jeter holding little Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes in the batting cage with the big red, plastic bat hitting pitches and things. So he's grown up around these guys, and nothing is going to intimidate him or have that wow factor that it might have for someone else. I didn't really follow him at Texas Tech. When they drafted him, though, I started looking, and that game between Texas Tech and Oklahoma. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Almost 2,000 yards offense.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
But once again, we were talking a little bit before we went on the air. Patrick Mahomes sure can't do it by himself, as we saw in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it was tremendous news. I just got a release yesterday from the Chiefs that they think Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher, who's an all-pro, offensive lineman, could be back this year.
That's big.
Wow.
That's
And
big.
what were you saying about the ACL where you thought it might have been torn, that it wasn't quite as bad?
When Fisher tore his Achilles in that AFC Championship game, my dad just thought it was a cramp. I was like, no, that's definitely his Achilles.
Yeah.
And then they said it was, and I was like, well, obviously he's done for the Super Bowl, but I was thinking he had a chance to probably miss this entire 2021 season.
Yeah.
And then he had the surgery, and the Chiefs said that they said he could be back in August. And I was listening to, I think it was either 610 or 810, and they had a guy on there, and he said when they got in there for the surgery that it was torn in a different spot and in a different way than they had initially thought. So it wasn't like an Achilles injury is always serious, but this was not near the seriousness that it could have been. So it was an easier fix, and it's a more it's a spot that they can work on more with physical therapy. So he should be able to recover a lot faster than initially thought.
It's big for Chiefs.
Which is outstanding news.
And I haven't heard. Have you guys heard anything about the Canadian doctor who's my hero?
LDT?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
His doctor's outfit is in the Football Hall of Fame.
I think I did see that.
How cool is
That's
that? I
really
mean,
cool.
for him to give up everything that he gave up to work in an emergency room, and there's a hero.
And we were talking about guys playing for money. That's a dude that gave up all of his money to go save lives.
Amazing. Just amazing.
Which the NFL, they originally told him, no, you can't put doctor on his uniform. But I think that's even more of a reason to give it to him.
Absolutely.
For a guy who could just drop his entire world and dedicate his life to other people.
And I don't know if this is a joke or not, but they said this is his workout routine. He's got the big hat with the muffs on it and the big coat and gloves, and he's out lifting weights, and there's like 6 feet of snow around.
There's a video.
I think he could probably find a gym to work out in, but that was just perfect.
Yeah.
And then, so some other, the Chiefs, they have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but Sammy Watkins is free agent.
Yes.
McCole Hardman's going to come back. Byron Pringle is going to be back. So, do you think for a number 2 receiver, the Chiefs bring back Sammy Watkins? Oh, it's Demarcus Robinson as a free agent too.
Yes.
Do you think the Chiefs bring back one or both or none of those guys? And if not, who do they bring in instead?
Well, I tell you what, when Sammy's in there, he's so dynamic.
Yeah.
But it just seems like he's always injured.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just the nature of the game. I remember a coach telling me one time there's a difference between being banged up and a difference between being injured.
Yeah.
If you're injured, you stay out. If you're banged up, you suck it up and you play. I love Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
I like McCole Hardman. When he has the opportunity. What Brett Veach did last year, bringing basically all the boys in the band back, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think Mahomes would be the type of guy like Tom Brady did for so many years in New England, where they would restructure his contract and put a little at the back end so they would have more money up front to sign some guys. I hope they sign Sammy. I really do. But they got to be looking at the offensive line. They've got to have guys that can step up, learn from these studs that they have now. Look at the regular season. I mean, I don't know how many different groupings there were on the offensive line.
They were just dropping like flies.
Unbelievable.
It started with Osemele tearing both tendons and both knees.
That was, it just looked like he was shot.
Yeah.
You knew it was bad. I never could dream it was in both knees.
And LDT opted out. Lucas Niang, the rookie, opted out. So then they had to put, Austin Ryder, I don't know. Nobody really knows if he was hurt, but then they put in Kilgore for him. And then they had to put in Wiley. And there was just so many different combinations that they never really had that like united front.
Exactly. Any cohesiveness at all. And on the offensive line, that's where you've got to know what the guy on either side of you is doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they had that. And all Mahomes did all season was praise them. They're the best. They're the best.
Yeah.
Look at what they're doing for me. And
it would have been really easy for him to just blame them for everything, because there are other quarterbacks that would absolutely do that. But
absolutely, there are. Yeah. The MVP's one of them.
What else?
What about Watson? Do you think he's going to end up getting traded?
I don't know. He met with his coach, and the coach said, we want you. And he goes, I'm not playing here. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but,
Well, did you read that Sports Illustrated story about the Houston Texans and that Easterby guy? It's basically...
But he's gone.
Yeah.
But I guess he's still lingering.
He kind of like weaseled himself into everything, and Bill O'Brien was fired, and Deshaun Watson told them he wanted to be part of the GM discussions. Well, the day after the season ended, he went down to Mexico, and Easterby was not supposed to be part of the GM hirings, and he talked to the owner, and he convinced them, hey, there's this guy for the Patriots that I want to go talk to. So while Deshaun Watson was on vacation, they went up to New England, and they hired this some kind of coach for New England. I don't remember his name. And now all of a sudden he's the GM. And Deshaun Watson, of course, is on fire about that. And he wants out. And I don't blame him for it. That you're the franchise guy. And
that, and I mean, name a guy that is any more associated with his community than J.J. Watts. What he raised $34 million for the flood victims. He's doing so much stuff now for people that had that horrible electrical situation. People owed $17,000 on their electrical bill because the grid went out, and he takes off. And I haven't read that much about it, but I still can't believe he went to the Cardinals.
Me
I
either.
mean, that's crazy. If if I could go to the Chiefs, and I don't know if the Chiefs could afford it, but man, if I could be a teammate of Patrick Mahomes, that's kind of like being a teammate of Tom Brady in
For
my
sure.
regards. He's not there yet.
Nope.
He has 1 and Brady has 7. But man, Mahomes is the future. I thought he might go to Pittsburgh and be with his brother,
Yeah, that's
TJ,
yeah.
which, man, that would have been fun to see those two guys on
Yeah.
the line. But I just think it just kind of sounds like it's a cesspool then in Houston. And guys want to get out. And, man, all you had to do was watch Deshaun Watson 2 years ago in that playoff game and
Bills.
know what he could do. Whoa,
Yeah.
he's special. He is talented. So, what's going to be fun is, you look back and you think of Montana and, Elway and Marino and all these guys that were part of that great quarterback group, the golden era. And now, with Lamar Jackson, with Deshaun Watson, with Mahomes, it's going to be fun to watch the NFL for the next
sure.
few years.
And it's all a thing. The Raiders, at least at one point, Russell Wilson, I don't think he's going to end up getting traded, but if he was, the Raiders were the favorites, and then at one point the Broncos were the favorites, Lane Watson. And it's not happening, but that division, if that did happen with Wilson, Watson, Herbert, Mahomes, that'd be insane.
That would be nuts. That would be nuts.
What do you think about Russell Wilson? Because personally, I don't think he's going to be traded from
I don't think
Seattle.
he will.
I don't either. I just can't see that. He is as ingrained in Seattle as J.J. Watts was in Texas. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I can't see it happening. I don't know how you let a talent like that get away. And when I think of Seattle, I think of Russell Wilson, and they've put great people around him. And it's funny you mentioned Russell Wilson because somebody put together like a reel of all his touchdown passes this year, and I tell you what, you put him in a red jersey and you'd have thought it was Mahomes.
Yeah. Well,
Different arm angles, running for his life. It was interesting.
protection.
that first 3 or 4 games of the season, people were already starting to give him the MVP.
I know. Oh, the way he started, it was unreal. Yeah.
And then another quarterback, Alex Smith, he's kind of a Chiefs hero. And he got traded to Washington and had that horrific leg injury.
Yeah.
And then there was news that he said and felt that Washington never wanted him this season.
I know.
But, they still let him play, and he took him to the playoffs, and they just cut him.
They
What do you
cut
think
him.
about
that? It's a business.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's a game to us, but it's a business. This guy wins comeback player of the year. He leads them to the playoffs. He's the gutsiest, grittiest.
Yeah.
Can you see a guy knowing that he's going to lose his starting position to this young kid from Texas, and the way he brought Mahomes along and taught Mahomes what the NFL was all about?
Yeah. And then there's guys like Aaron Rodgers who they draft Jordan
Said
Love
he's
for his
not-
replacement, and he doesn't want anything to do with him.
Nothing. A kid from Blue Springs High School,
Was Shepard?
Darius Shepard, was a free agent with the Packers. And he said, greatest teammate in the world if you were a wide receiver or a running back. That Rodgers, man, he would spend time afterwards and this and that, but didn't want nothing to do with those other quarterbacks, So, I can't believe it. I hope Alex Smith lands someplace where they can be competitive.
Yeah. Do you think he signs somewhere where he can be a starter, or will he be a backup?
I think he'll be back up.
I think he'll be a backup.
Me too.
All he's gone through. I know that he's not the guy that's just going to sign for a paycheck.
Yeah.
I think I could see him going someplace maybe where they've got a young guy that he, like a Drew Lock,
That's what I was saying, the
who
Broncos.
needs a mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They bring in Peyton Manning to work with him, and I would love to see Alex Smith at least go to a Super Bowl.
Me
Yeah.
too.
he was so classy when he was here. They had a Chiefs Day at the Genealogy Center in Independence, and they had 4 football players from Truman, from Chrisman, and Van Horn. And Alex Smith and the 2 backup quarterbacks at the time, Mahomes wasn't there, all had teams of kids, and they would follow these genealogy traits, and then they'd go through and, I mean, he's running with those kids through the they won by like 20 minutes. And I thought, it doesn't matter what he's probably very competitive at cards and shooting hoops in the driveway.
Yeah.
So he's a guy I'd love to have on my team.
I don't think it'll happen. Actually, I'm like 1,000% sure it won't happen, but I think it'd be a pretty amazing fairy tale ending for him to sign back with the Chiefs as a backup.
That would be incredible.
He finally gets the ring that he's always deserved.
That would be, the Chiefs. I heard ordered 700 Super Bowl rings that they gave. Like anybody in the Ring of Fame got one.
Yeah.
Everybody in the front office. A friend of mine that is an assistant trainer at Fort Osage High School got one. He works in the hospitality center. They're not the big flashy ones, but they're a Super Bowl ring. I wish they'd have sent one to Alex Smith.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
he deserved one for everything that he did with Mahomes.
Mahomes is not who he is without Alex Smith.
No, he's not. He's definitely not. And man, I mean, like we were just talking about, this is a business, and this young kid is taking away your bankroll.
Yeah.
And he did everything he can to make it a smooth transition and to make it special.
Yeah.
And wow, a year later, he's the MVP of the league. 2 years later, he's a Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if we'd have had our line, that would not have been a 31-9 game.
Definitely not.
But come on, Brady.
The GOAT.
Come on, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Kid that graduated from Blue Springs High School, Khalil Davis,
Yep.
is on the defensive line at Tampa Bay. And did a big piece with him in the paper last week. And Brady Locker's right across from him. And he says every time Brady walks by, he'll kind of pat him on the shoulder, say, "Hey, kid, how's it going?" And he goes, "That makes my day." He goes, "I don't even know if he knows my name, but he calls me kid." And I said, "Okay, now you told me early on you're going to pick the perfect moment to ask him for an autograph." He goes, "I still haven't done it. I just can't do it." So he has that same effect on everybody.
Yeah,
and
sure.
You know what? If you got to lose to somebody, losing to a guy like that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Those guys haven't had a winning season in 10 years, and he's there 1 year and takes them to the
That's
Super
really
Bowl
cool.
and
Yeah.
wins it. Man,
That's really cool.
yes.
All right. Well, thanks for meeting with us today, Bill. It's been really awesome talking to you.
Oh, I've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. Anytime.
Yes.
Sweet.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time on the Eagle Rewind.